Ramm is a former commander of specialist operations at New Scotland Yard. Good morning to you, Roy.
Hello, Julia.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, you're joining us today to talk about why the government is basically rolling out live facial recognition cameras. They're planning that for every town centre, town, city, village. That is the plan. Police could be given access to Britain's passport database to catch criminals under the expansion of that technology that could be deployed across the country. And basically, they'll be allowed to compare photographs of crime suspects from CCTV, from those doorbell cameras and dash cams against facial images on government databases. Of course, 45 million of us have actually got passports. We've got immigration records as well. I mean, it all sounds fine, except we've had CCTV, we've had a lot of this technology for quite a long time. Is there any evidence it actually results in a cut in crime that would justify the invasion of our right to privacy as we walk down the street?
Well, look, I think the first thing to say is that I very much doubt that it will ever get rolled out to every village and town across the country. But I think that there's a good argument for it to be rolled out into city centres. Yes, there is evidence that it works. It's worked at large public events like carnivals in identifying drug dealers and drugs traffickers, violent criminals like the people that maybe stole your telephone on
my bag. Yeah. Although they know who he is, they know his address. They just don't bother arresting him.
Well, if he pops up on one of these cameras in the street, perhaps he will be arrested. But I think, it's an intelligence tool. At the moment, police use these officers who are called super identifiers.
Yeah.
Who go to these events. This is just a better way of doing it. It's more reliable.
So so basically it's cameras. I mean, I've seen them on Oxford Street and I've been out there and they've got these cameras and they've got lots of, about 12 police officers hanging around, frankly doing nothing. And they're just scanning every face in the crowd. I mean, the only thing that I thought was, well, if I was a criminal and I knew I was wanted, probably wouldn't walk past that van. Might just think that was a bad idea.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because at the moment they are quite unusual to see the van there and a big sign saying it's facial recognition. But I think once they're embedded in the system and integrated with other CCTV cameras, people will forget. And there are plenty of these guys.
That's the trouble. People will forget. But here's the thing. And we know people like Big Brother Watch who've been, frankly, right about everything so far. And I was not that concerned about civil liberties before what happened with the lockdown and the like. But they've been absolutely bang on the money in terms of the surveillance state that we are now living in. And when we had, the urge to have us to have vaccine passports and the like, that actually very, very sinister. This can be used by, not a hostile nation state against us, although I'm no doubt at all China will hack in straight away, so will Russia, but it can be used by a democratically elected government that chooses to sort of prioritise, quote, our safety, quote, over our freedom and our right to walk down the sodding street without being monitored.
And walk down the sodding street without being mugged either.
But it doesn't have to be either or, does it?
Well, no, it doesn't have to be either or, and that's why it's really important for politicians to get it right in terms of the controls around this thing. I would never ever be somebody who supported this kind of level of surveillance everywhere. It's unjustified and it's not necessary.
And it doesn't work. We've got apart from Singapore and China, we've got the most CCTV cameras in the world. We have a sky-high criminal rate at the moment.
Well, but they do work if they're integrated properly into a criminal justice system that works. But, I've said there are some fundamental flaws in the justice system. It's all very well kind of bolting these things on at times, but what we need is a full holistic review of the system. What part policing plays, what part technology plays, what part the courts play. It's a much bigger question than just, should we bung a camera up here and there?
Yeah.
But let's not forget that criminals are exploiting technology all the time. Cybercrime, hacking our cars, hacking everything. They're using technology. We need to use technology to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
Some big brothers can be quite benign.
Well, yeah, that's it. Can we start with, getting police officers when they take a witness statement, not doing it in longhand and then going away and typing it up with two fingers? I mean, and then sending it back to you to be. I mean, that would be a good. Let's get into the 20th century at least, rather than 21st century first. That would be a good start. Look, I'm not against us using this technology if I knew there were safeguards. I just don't trust the government or any government of any political hue to not allow this to expand?
I kind of detect a note of cynicism in you sometimes.
Really? Sometimes? Only the sometimes? It's just from bitter experience. Bearing in mind, I did have a formal apology from the Chief Counsel to the Cabinet Office after they monitored what I was saying online. I mean, it was publicly available about lockdown policies and vaccine passports and things during lockdown, and then sent it to a counter-terrorism unit in the United States. I mean, funnily enough, as somebody who's like a law-abiding citizen who's always believed in, the state and everything, I'm a little bit more wary now.
Yeah, and I think we're all entitled to be a bit more wary. But I keep coming back to this point. It's no good kind of bolting bits on here and there.
Yeah.
There needs to be this more holistic approach to we deserve to be kept safe. We deserve to have a well-informed, well-equipped police service that delivers the kind of policing that we want to see.
Yeah, and as you say, there's no point if it needs to be joined onto a functioning criminal justice system. We know how unfunctioning that is right now. Lots of conversation about jury trials and the long delays. But again, if someone, it's like with shops, they say, okay, well, we've got this guy, we've got his name, his address, we've got him on camera, we've got everything, and the police turn up. They either don't arrest, they don't do anything. If they do actually arrest and charge, CPS doesn't prosecute, or it doesn't go to court for a very long time, and then he gets a slap on the wrist, or he gets sent to jail, and he comes out after about 3 minutes. And what's the point of any of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, but we can't abandon it, can we?
No, but I think that's what a lot of people feel.
I've encountered it with victims of crime way back in my service days, and with family who've had problems. There is a lack of trust in it overall. Yeah. People waiting 4 or 5 years to see the outcome of a trial is not good.
No, absolutely. Always good to talk to you, Roy Ramm, former commander of Specialist Operations at New Scotland Yard. Well, he's quite in favour of this, Philip Ingram. You're a former senior military intelligence officer. Look, I'm all for police using more technology and more intelligence, but it's the action afterwards that matters, isn't it?
No, it's across the board, because you can't have an action afterwards if you can't identify the people that you want to have that action with. And I'm in favour of it as well, because it's effectively putting more bobbies on the ground. It's putting more eyes so that you can take the very overworked physical police officers and target them in the right places and give them what they need to then reduce that amount of paperwork and actually get people into prosecutions.
How does that work? Because basically you need to have an idea of who a suspect is to be able to cross-reference.
Exactly, and if it's cross-referenced, if you've got them on the database that's in there, it will have all the potential crimes that they've committed beforehand.
And then you arrest them there and then.
And you just hit print, and that gives you your evidence.
I mean, you could have just gone to their home.
Well, yes, but
if you cross-reference against their passport, you've probably got a home address in there.
But a lot of these criminals will move around an awful lot, and they're not there. And you talk about nation states. If we've got Chinese cameras, and a lot of our local authorities have got Chinese cameras, they are feeding back into databases that have been data storage that have been sold with the package. Those servers are based in continental China. China is already running AI software and facial recognition software against that, and monitoring what you're doing and everything else, and using that to target their secret police into different things. The government has got the Protection of Freedoms Act in England and Wales that should have had the Surveillance Camera Commissioner overseeing it, but that post has been disbanded.
I'm just going to want a lot of protections in this. I really am. But